Hello everyone, my name is For Extraordinaire, and I wanted to talk to you guys about my top 3 cultures that definitely need a few changes, in particular buffs or at least some balance adjustments for the next patch. So for this video, I'll be covering 3 cultures as I said, and I'm only going to be covering the 3 cultures for the ancient era, and that's for a number of reasons, but mainly I find that these cultures really start off the game and kick off the game for the player, and that these cultures are going to be the ones you're the most familiar with, and so therefore, and just based on like kind of fine-tuning the player's experience, I think these are some of the cultures that are the most important to get right, especially for new players kind of coming into Humankind and getting to know the game. So that's why I'm kind of basically just going over them, though I'll definitely talk about later cultures later on. So if you guys like this video, please leave a like and subscribe. The first culture on this list, unsurprisingly, is the Phoenicians. Throughout the community and just through almost unanimous consent, I found that the Phoenicians have just been panned for a few reasons. Mainly, the Phoenicians have a lot of trouble with their haven. Particularly, it is one of the few uniques that you actually have to research to unlock, and it comes very late in the tree, relatively speaking. You have to invest a lot into science to get to it fairly early on and make use of its abilities. And even then, I find that when you get to use the haven, even though it counts as a farmer's quarter and a merchant quarter, it does not give you nearly the same amount of versatility later on as the other quarters, especially the Egyptian pyramids, which are just amazing. I'm not going to compare every quarter to them, but just when you have quarters like the astronomy tower for the Babylonians and the Egyptian pyramids, especially quarters like the Harappans, when you have powerful quarters like that kind of early on, a haven that you have to really research and invest in just to get some extra food and money out of really is not that impressive, especially when you start talking about their bi-ream and some of their other abilities, just because it, when you look at it, it's just not that impressive. If I could make some suggestions on how you could buff the Phoenicians, first of all, I'd probably make the bi-ream just a better unit. I don't know if there's anything else you can do. It serves its purpose as kind of being a very strong unit early on, especially on some of the naval maps to get some exploration out, kind of marking off some good territories, showing you some good resources along the way, possibly collecting a few curiosities here and there. If you are a bit riskier. But I think the main problem is definitely their haven. Their ability is fine, but I definitely improve their haven, possibly give it the benefits of a maker's quarter, or if not, at least make it come a lot earlier. If it has to be researched, make it come earlier than sailing, maybe carpentry or something. It makes sense. You have to get the wood to build the harbor, I guess, and to build those ships. So just try to get haven out. I really just... I think that's my only suggestion currently for the Phoenicians. But if you could change anything else, I guess maybe I'd tweak their ability just a little bit to be a bit more powerful. I don't know specifically if you guys have any ideas on how to do that, but the Phoenicians definitely need a huge tweak in that direction just to kind of buff them up a bit compared to some of the ancient era cultures. Another culture I do want to talk about is the Assyrians, and I've actually made a video on them in the past, though there have been a few tweaks with their abilities. However, the concept remains the same, and that is more in line with the Assyrians kind of not matching their affinity well, at least with Expansionist and kind of my interpretation of Expansionist. I know some of you guys might have different interpretations, but I find the term Expansionist really to do more with kind of a peaceful expansion. I know there's going to be some conflicts here and there. One of their abilities pertains to actually stealing your rival's territory, but I think they're like way too focused towards a military aspect, especially with their Assyrian raiders. If I could kind of like retool their kit, if they still have to have some of their militarist aspects, and those are fun in some ways, but I'd at least try to make maybe tone down their movement speed for their ability and give them some more passive traits, because as the Assyrians, they are good if you can get them set up, but you do have to, kind of like with the Phoenicians, invest a lot to make that happen. And even then, I think one of the big problems with them is kind of getting consistent horse resources for the Assyrian raiders, and they're not too hard to come by, the horse resources, but I find the Assyrian raiders, just all in all, can kind of be expensive to produce, which makes sense as they are cavalry, but still, I definitely have a problem with the Assyrian raiders kind of just having to be invested in a lot compared to some of the other components of the Assyrian toolkit. And then when you get to things like the Danu, which I believe is the name of their unique emblematic quarter, I find that you have to invest a lot into it kind of like early on, which early on being influence, which is a very, very valuable resource for building outposts. So if you could kind of just change that around and make it so that the Danu at least gives you some more influence or possibly some faith, as it is kind of a monument. I think that it would be a lot better just kind of in the realm, or it'd be a lot better fitting in the theme in the realm of expansionism. All right, for my next and final culture on this tier list, we have the Olmecs, and they have undergone a ton of changes. They usually give, actually, believe it or not, faith per adjacent river, and that basically means you dominated the competition. Now they have a bit of a change in the terms of the function of the Olmec's head. They have nothing to do with faith. They actually provide influence per adjacent farm. And while they are useful as a farmer's quarter, I find that the Olmec's head just, again, requires a lot of investment. And while it is a slightly better farmer's quarter, you really have to invest a lot in that Olmec head to kind of get some of the influence out to further build your outpost and expand your empire. Whereas some of the other empires, like with the Egyptians, they can just plop down an Egyptian pyramid, or even the Phoenicians can at least plop down a haven and get a maker's or a market quarter out of it, as well as a farmer's quarter. So I just find that the overall way that you're supposed to play the Olmecs kind of just doesn't jive well. I think they did a lot better with the Open Dev, even if they were a bit broken and a bit bonkers. I think that they had a unique aspect with faith, so maybe if they could kind of retain some of that faith focus from the Open Dev, that would be fun, at least the Lucy Open Dev. I don't know how they were in the Victor Open Dev, but maybe if they could retain some of that faith focus, or to kind of give them a bit of a better head start, maybe they could have a Maker's Quarter, have the Olmec's heads count as a Maker's Quarter, or perhaps they could even have more influence from the farms. Just a few of my suggestions. I also know that the Javelin Throwers are a bit on the weaker side. I think they're one of the worst ancient era emblematic units, just because it's kind of hard to satisfy their forest start bias. Or their forest combat terrain advantage. I think it's called Ambusher specifically, and basically, just as a quick rundown for those of you who aren't kind of briefed on it, or you don't play agrarian or aesthete cultures too much, basically what it does is you get a huge bonus to being in the forest, but I just find that the planning in the kind of the situation where you find yourself in, you're not going to be around too many forests, but that's just in my experience. I know some people have had some crazy success with the Javelin Throwers, or the Noble Javelineers, whatever the hell they're called. But basically, I had some problems with them. So I don't know if you guys have had some problems with them. And also, if you guys are having any troubles or concerns with the Olmecs, please let me know. And also, please leave some suggestions on how you would improve the Olmecs in the description below. I know this video has kind of been me rambling on a little bit. I just wanted to get these thoughts out of my head before the next balance patch update. And I've also been a bit sick. So if you guys have any suggestions, please let me know. I think that should be it. So I thank you guys so much for watching. If you liked the video, leave a like and subscribe. But otherwise, I hope you guys have a great rest of your day and have a great rest of the week. All right, this has been 4 Extraordinaire. Peace.